Call the meeting order, please rise and pledge allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is April 27th. Can I have a roll call, please?
Cleary.
Here.
Aaron. Here. Meyer. Here. Gross. Coleman.
Here.
Whalen.
Here.
Trustee Forrest did call and say he would not be here tonight. So we have 3 sets of minutes for approval, March 23rd, March 30th, and April 13th. Any comments?
I have comments on 2 of them.
Okay.
The meeting of March 30th, Mr. Basil was there as a guest, which would be our workshop. And the minutes on April 13th, 3rd page, where we were talking about the National Honor Society. It was supposed to start at noon, going to 2:30. It says 8 o'clock. And on sheet 2 of that same set of minutes, under Trustee Whaling's, Trustee Whaling made the motion to approve the bill. It was not me.
What minute was that on?
That was on the same minutes. It would have been the April 13th.
Trustee Whalen made a motion to pay the
He
bill.
made the motion to pay the bills for the lights. And Trustee Kaporos was the one that seconded, which is correct.
Okay.
Anything else? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So motion made and second to make the corrections and leave everything else as it is.
This is for all 3.
Yes, correct. With the additions or changes that you suggested. Roll call.
Cleary.
Yes.
Aaron. Yes. Meyer. Yes. Coleman.
Yes.
Whalen.
Yeah, abstain.
The clerk's report.
Everyone has a copy. Total tax income received since the last meeting, $152,932.52. Attached to the clerk's report is a proclamation declaring May as Motorcycle Awareness Month in Beecher. Also is a copy of the request made by Abate of Illinois. Are there any objections to the proclamation? We usually pass that every year. And I also have a thank you note here from the family of Marcella Haumeister, the former village trustee. Thank you for the beautiful floral basket and the village officials who came to the viewing. We know she enjoyed working for Beecher for all those many years. Signed the families of Eugene and Dennis Haumeister.
Just to let you know, Marcella was village treasurer for 35 years. And I think she served up to 1986. I just want to note too, the MFT payment is that 1/2 payment that the government took for 1 month. It's usually about $8,000.
Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to address the board? Are you here for a,
I'm here from Senior Services Center.
when we open it up for a public hearing for the budget process, that's when you can address the board?
Okay, thank you.
If not, Finance Administration, Trustee Clear.
As the President has indicated, we're going to have this is the public hearing considering the budget for the fiscal year 2015 and 2016. So I'm making a motion opening the public hearing for to consider the budget for 2015-2016.
Second.
A motion on the floor, and there was a second. Any questions or motion? Roll call.
Whalen.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Aaron. Yes. Cleary.
Yes.
Copies of the budget are on the table back there. If you want to grab a packet for your review. I also believe the entire budget and the budget message is online on the internet. Is that correct, on our website, Jeanette?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm not going to read the 14-page synopsis. I'm going to stick to a 2-page outline. The 5-year financial plan was the start of our budget process last fall, and it took it takes us out 5 years for financial planning. And the budget process then proceeds to January when the department heads submit their requests, and then the administrator makes final revenue projections. The first draft of the budget then comes out in early February and is reviewed by the village president. And a second draft is then given to the finance committee in mid-February for review. Then the finance committee meets with the department heads, administrator, and the village president the first Saturday in March, and that's an all-day session. Marcy and Brian can attest to the fact that we were served breakfast, and that had to last us all day because we were here for 9.5 hours. Got through the budget. Then the third draft was the village board, and a budget workshop was held in the last week of March on this proposed budget. After the workshop, then the budget goes to the fourth draft for public hearing, and that's where we are tonight. The budget can still be amended, tabled, or approved as a result of tonight's meeting. So the budget is, as far as we're concerned, it's balanced and it's ready for presentation, but that does not mean it can't be changed. This budget and message has been on the village's website since April 10th. This is the fourth year now, and I looked it up because I thought it was longer than 2 or 3 years that we talked about, but this is the fourth year of a 0% property tax levy increase for the village's portion of the property tax bill. So that means for the last 4 years we've frozen the levy, and that includes this year. No new sources of revenue for the general fund this year, but several general revenue items have been growing recently, including the sales tax, use tax, video gaming tax, and telecommunications tax. Without these growing revenues, budgeting would have been much more difficult this year. The state's fiscal crisis and threats to pull 1/2 of our LGDF funding, which equals about $200,000, is still a serious threat to our budget and our daily operations. We have devised a plan to deal with this potential should it come into play, but right now it's a staff internal document. And if those cuts happen, we will reopen the budget and we will introduce additional cuts. Because we always try to strive for a balanced budget. This budget includes a 2% wage increase for all non-union employees. Teamster employees get a 2% raise on the top step. The PPO rates on health insurance dropped 8.6%. The HMO rates dropped 4.9%. The Teamsters rate increased by 10%. IMRF pension employer contributions is currently 11.39% for all employees of total wages, compared to last year's 11.58%. No new employees are going to be hired as part of this budget. Part-time code enforcement officer that we did last year and added hours to that will continue this year. We budgeted for 2 summer workers in the Public Works Department. Only one new vehicle is planned for purchase in the coming year, and that's a Chevy Tahoe to replace the 1999 Suburban in the Police Department. The ash borer continues to be a serious problem. We budgeted $6,000 for contractual tree removal and trimming, and $3,000 for the purchase of replacement parkway trees. The Safe Routes to School grant is expected to go this year. $148,000 was budgeted for that project, but we recently learned that the state's going to fund that project in full, so it won't be a reimbursement project, but they have now scheduled that for an April 16th bid letting. So that project's probably going to carry into the next fiscal year. We continue with our street pole and sign replacement program. We have 3 subdivisions yet to do. We're using motor fuel tax funds for that purpose, and we're planning on applying for an IEP loan in the amount of $695,000 to replace the water main this winter along Penfield from Dixie to Reed. We hope to begin that project around Labor Day. $41,000 is also budgeted, but will only be spent if the column pipe in well number 3 develops pitting and reduces the efficiency of that well. Currently that well shaft is way beyond its life expectancy, but it still continues to operate fine. So we continue to budget that $41,000 in the event we start seeing a decreased efficiency on well number 3. $15,800 is to continue the upgrading of the off-site computer control of the water and sewer system, which we know is SCADA. That's the code name for the computer control of our water and sewer system. And we budgeted $7,000 to continuously turn valves at 1/3 of the town each year. So it's $21,000 to turn all the valves in town. We're doing 1/3 of the town each year. We budgeted an additional $10,620 for the replacement of 100 water meters in the system, and that's in addition to the 180 meters we received last year from HD Supply. So there will be 280 meters going into the system in the next 12 months. We are going to continue to budget the $36,000 for the land use plan in the event the Ileana Expressway project gets started up again. That is a grant from the state. We have no idea what's gonna happen with the grant, but we'll keep it in the budget for another year. We budgeted $50,000 for the resurfacing of the Fairway Drive East Loop. That portion of the road is failing significantly. In fact, we're planning on opening bids June 1st on that project. And there's also some sunken curb that has to be replaced there. We budgeted $20,000 for crack sealing, $24,000 for the rebuilding of the RES lift station at the sewer treatment plant. We budgeted $4,500 for a continuing licensing incentive program for public works employees. And we also continue to fund the Nixle and smartphone application projects. The village, in this budget, as it stands now, is going to assume the cost of the ice rink starting this winter. The Fireman's Park ball field lights, with the $22,000 grant from the state, is a project we will complete this coming fiscal year. In fact, the lights should be arriving tomorrow. The police department will be switching to Lexipol for its department regulations and procedures. Although this project's going to cost us $5,000 a year, it could save you many thousands of dollars in legal costs down the road. We budgeted $18,000 for replacing sidewalks and MFT, and $150,000 for the completion of the Penfield Street SDP Phase 1 report, where we have hoped to receive $2 million in federal funding to do a complete reconstruction of Penfield from Dixie to Gould. Also, we budgeted $50,000 in the sewer fund to complete Phase 1 alternatives report for the sewer plant rehab and expansion, which is scheduled to be a $6 million project in 2019, again using IEPA loan financing. Major changes in the coming year. Residents can expect, with this budget, to pay an additional $22.80 to the village this year, as they did last year, when you add in the water and sewer and refuse rate increases that will be going into effect. There is no property tax impact unless your assessed value does not change. If the assessed value continues to decrease in the community and yours stays the same, you could end up paying more in property taxes, but our levies right now are still frozen. There's no new village property taxes for 2015, but a 0% tax increase levy for 2016 is in serious jeopardy due to the possibility of an LGDF reduction. There's no way we can continue to freeze property taxes if they take LGDF funding from us, the state. Increases in workers' compensation insurance have really whacked us in the last year or two, and I don't see those rates coming down, and they're going to have a serious impact on our budget in the future. These are the overall major storylines to this year's budget. Overall, the fund balances of the village's major funds will drop by about $100,000 over the coming year, and this is due primarily to the work being completed on the water and sewer side of the ledger using capital funds. The operating accounts of the village are balanced, and no reserve cash is being used to fund those operations. Mr. Chairman, this is the budget for fiscal year 2015-16.
No further comments? Any comments concerning the budget?
Mr. Chairman, I think we should read one letter for the record before we let her speak. The letter that should go to the record. I'll read it if you want me to.
Sure, if you got it in front of you, I don't.
We received one letter. I believe the person's here tonight. I'll go ahead and read the letter. Dear Mr. Smansky and Village Trustees, enclosed an overall overview of programs and services that our agency provided to the older adults of your community during 2015, or I think it's 2014. We provided services to 451 seniors in Beecher, which is a 20% increase over the prior year. With the late payments by the state of Illinois, and we know how we share your pain, we've had to cut back on the services we provide to the seniors of Polk County. That is why local support from villages, cities, and townships is even more important to us. Please help us continue the vital services which help to keep the seniors independent, healthy, and in their own homes for as long as possible. I'm requesting a financial contribution of $500 from the village. Thank you in advance for your consideration of this request. This was signed by Patricia Hensley, so I assume that.
No.
Okay.
I am Mary Pat Fry. I'm with the Senior Services Center. I'm the Director of the Care Coordination Unit and currently the Interim Executive Director. Ms. Hensley is no longer with our agency. Each year we do send out those letters to all the municipalities here in Will County looking for the local match that helps us provide the federal and other programs that we provide. I'm not gonna, the list is there of the different services. The 451 different people were people that we served in a multitude of services. We have the social, recreational, income tax assistance. The largest portion of those residents served did fall in the information and assistance, and that could be a simple question about what's available, where could they get financial support. The big program is the Medicare open enrollment period, where we not only look at their Medicare D information, not just to enroll them, but to look at it every year, because each year that plan changes, and what they have this year might be the best plan, but come next year there might be a better plan for them. Those are the kinds of things we do. The other things that we do that are not seen by people are the in-home care assessments that we do. We had done 56 different assessments to see about putting in-home services in the senior's home to help keep them in their home and in their community as long as possible. The last thing that was on that letter does talk about the nutrition program. Unfortunately, that program effective April 1st is no longer with us for the actual provision of the meals. However, the care coordination unit still does all the assessment for those persons going on to the meal program. We do the reassurance check if someone's not home when they deliver a meal to make sure that nothing has happened to them and that everything is okay. We do ask for the financial contribution to help us with the local match and to show that we do get local support for our programs. I thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Have you approached the township also?
Yes, what we have done, we're going down the list alphabetically, and a lot of the meetings are on the same. So we started with the villages, and we have started doing some of the townships. We are making an appearance or asking to be on the agenda at every village and township in Will County.
What
So
is
we
your
are.
success rate so far? in county?
Our success, well, just to let you know that out of the 47 municipalities, we already had 50% participation from villages and townships. We are looking just to bring the others on board with contributions. We have a couple new ones that we have presented at, have given us some donations this year that had not in the past. So we understand what you're going through with the potential loss of revenue in the proposed budget, just as we have budget cuts in the proposed budget. So we do understand that, and any consideration would be deeply appreciated. But we are going to everybody.
Any questions?
Actually, we're in someone else from our agencies at Pete, Miller's
Okay,
meeting
we'll take
tonight.
under advisement, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the audience wish to address in the public hearing? If not, is there a motion to close the hearing? Any questions or motion? Roll call.
Cleary?
Yes.
Aaron's? Yes. Meyer?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Wheeler?
Yes. There being no changes to the budget as we have in hand, I make a motion for the resolution number
2015-02.
adopting the budget for the fiscal year 2015-2016.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There is a second, any questions or motion? Roll call.
Wheeler?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Aaron's? Yes. Cleary?
Yes. The next item on our list is concerning the appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year ending in April 2016. Bob, want to get any details on this?
This appropriation equals the budget to the penny. So it doesn't give you any additional spending authority than we just.
So anything we do has to be done internally. Whatever we do in the budget, we need to move that around.
If we spend more money, we have to do a supplemental for that. It's been our past practice.
Okay. I make a motion, ordinance number
1222.
adopting the appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year ending April 13th, 2016.
Second.
The motion on the floor, there was a second, any questions or motion? Roll call.
Cleary?
Yes.
Aaron's? Yes. Meyer?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Wheeler?
Yes.
The next item is concerning the appropriation of the motor fuel tax for the similar year, fiscal year 2015-2016. This is required by IDOT so that we can provide them information on our MFT spending for the coming year. So I make the motion for resolution
2015-03.
for the appropriation of motor fuel tax funds for the fiscal year 2015-2016.
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any questions to that motion? Roll call.
Wheeling?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Aaron's? Yes. Cleary?
Yes. The last thing on the list for financial is concerning ComEd. They've notified the village of their delivery rates are gonna be changing. So it's gonna be going down about $1 per month. And that's it.
Public buildings, properties, parks, and recreation, trustee Williams.
Fireman's Park ball field lights, from what I understand from Bob's comment, they're coming in tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay, what's the schedule as far as getting them?
Well, we had to wait till the lights get in, so the next thing is to get in touch with Mike, and if, he says he believes it can all be taken care of in 3 days, so. Next thing we'll have to do is I will have to, coordinate time with him, and then get a lift in, and we'll get it done
Good.
as soon as possible.
The only thing is we gotta do some work at night to angle those lights, right?
Right, because you're gonna have shadows and void spots. Okay. Update on Fireman's Park buildings, Beecher Rec and Fourth of July Commission are planning on constructing 2 more buildings in the park. One is a concession stand and the other one is a storage garage. We had a meeting set up for last week, it had to be canceled for the concession stand. We are scheduled for May 7th as far as our next meeting on that. From what I understand on the construction of the concession stand, they've gone out, gotten bids and material costs and everything else, and that's what we're gonna meet on May 7th. Anything on the, what's that?
What time?
We're talking 6 o'clock
Yeah, here.
here. Anything on the other building that you know?
Nothing, it'll probably, the beer stand is close to being completed, except for the grading, which is supposed to take place the first week of May. I don't know if they're on schedule with that. I know last weekend they probably got rained out. We'll work on it.
All right, and then the golf course update.
The only thing we know is somebody did look at the golf course, I believe last week, or it might have even been 2 weeks ago now, and we have not heard anything today.
So we're mowing out there again today?
You know, I think it looks great, you know, the mowing, and I heard that they were out fertilizing. Is that?
Were they?
And they took out a lot of brush, and they piled it up over here, and they're hauling it away.
Okay,
So there's a lot of
So
brush
they're-
over here that they're.
because I was concerned about the branches and everything else laying out there.
We're thinking, we're hoping, we're praying, whatever the case may be, that what they're doing is an indication of possibly they're preserving it for someone to buy, that's buying it. And again, maybe we'll hear something very soon, but like I say, all we know is that somebody did in fact look at it.
Good, it looks like they're mowing the greens as well, you know, from what I could see, so that's a good thing. And that's it on the golf course? Okay, that ends my report.
Planning, building, and zoning, trustee Aaron.
Building Department monthly report was enclosed for your review. Results of the PZC meeting due to the short turnaround time, recommendation of PZC of the John rezoning request and the Pins and Tonic Garden, Beer Garden special use request will not be considered until May 11th. However, we can discuss with the things that happened at the hearing. The petitioner was wishing to take the back half of his property and rezone it from residential to commercial. He's wishing to build a steel frame building to hold some equipment on that back parcel. There were some flooding and drainage issues, but they have been addressed. The building is being placed on stone parking lot area, which is already an impervious surface. And, let's see, he's been keeping the property neatly landscaped and also cut the grass. The neighbors had no complaints about that. Some of the things that they were asking about was the height of the building, whether or not there was gonna be a fence or some type of landscaping, lighting, or fencing. That's gonna be discussed further down the line. And as far as Pins and Tonic, some of the issues that came up were if there's gonna be glass or bottles, was there gonna be an enclosed fence, their hours of operations, to make sure that the lighting did not leave the property, and that some of the banners that they would be putting would be on the inside the fence if they were gonna have one and not placed on the outside, and to make sure that it was handicap accessible. Bob, do you need to add any other comments to that? Other than that, the next item for discussion was discussion of the presentation of the Ileana 394 Route 1 corridor study and plans for the PZC. We did have a few board members that had attended that meeting, and Bob, you wanna add any comments to this?
We saw the proposal for a roundabout at Eagle Lake and Route 1, and the PZC members had an open mind to it. It wasn't, oh, we don't want that. The diagrams that they were showing, the pictures they were showing seemed like, well, you know, maybe that would work. So the jury's still out on the roundabout, but it definitely is something that, it's a new tech, a new design that's being used all over the world. So it's nothing new, it's just that we're behind the times when it comes to those. If you've never been in one before, it's a real experience the first time, but after you go through it a few times, it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. No traffic light. I don't have to stop, so. The jury's out. On this roundabout.
All you gotta do is watch European Vacation.
The guy that went around there for 8 hours. Get out.
Kept on going around, couldn't get off.
And then the land use planning grant update, enclosed letter was sent by the governor's office on our grant suspension. And you can give us an update on
Yeah,
that?
unless we get any new news, the mayor and I agreed we're not gonna bring this on the agenda anymore. This was something we report because it sounds like a broken record, so.
And that ends my report.
Public safety, trustee Coon.
Yeah, the police department monthly report is enclosed for your review. Also, code enforcement monthly report is enclosed for your review. Chief, any comments?
Yes, I've got a couple things. We started dog tag enforcement as we start by sending a courtesy letter to all the residents who bought a dog tag last year but did not buy one this year. We sent out 202 letters, so the village might be seeing an increase in sales, but a lot of them that people moved or the dog passed or they no longer have the dog. It's a courtesy letter we do every year prior to going out door to door and actually writing the tickets. So that has started. I also got a request for a traffic control sign at Penfield and Gould. The resident there complained that the cars are speeding down Penfield, especially when they come down that hill. I just finished the traffic study, which went 7 days, 24 hours a day. I finished that on the 21st. I will look at the results of that, respond to the petitioner, and then advise the board what my recommendation would be as to what sort of traffic control sign, if
Does
any.
that show speed and everything else?
It shows the speed. What I look at is what's called the 85th percentile, which means 85% of all cars travel this speed. It also shows the speed in each direction, the time of day, and the classification. So I know class isn't a big thing, but it will show whether they're going east or west. And I'll present that information,
In the
everybody.
history of Penfield, it used to be 30 miles an hour. I know we dropped it to 25.
Correct.
It used to be 30. Miller and Penfield both were 30. We did drop it to 25.
And it's funny you say that because on the sheets that I've been starting to review, the 85th percentile is 28.5 miles an hour, which is actually in excess of the posted speed limit of 25. Now, whether I think a stop sign is warranted, I have to look at other warrants there to see, because they're requesting a stop sign for Penfield traffic at Gould
Yeah,
Street.
the theory behind Penfield, if you go from Dixie all the way to Old Park, unless you get a train, it's a non-stop trip. Same is true with Miller. You can go all the way from Dixie to Reed without stopping. And the theory behind that is that it's a collector street and it should allow for traffic to move through. This has come up before. We've had requests for Catalpa and Penfield to have a four-way stop because of the school, the grade school there. And there was always reluctance to do it by past village boards because of their theory that Penfield was a collector street and should be allow traffic to keep moving through. Now, there is a school zone there in Penfield at the grade school, and that school zone is going to be improved once we get this Safe Routes to Schools grant up and running and get the signage up.
And what we look at is traffic warrants. I mean, does it warrant that specific sign? And there's a list of them that you take into effect. The vehicle traffic, pedestrian traffic, how many crashes occur at that location, whether there's any fatal crashes, So there's more to it than just cars. It might be something as simple as we need to do some traffic enforcement to slow things down. But at that area, majority of your speeders are coming downhill anyway. So even if you got your foot off the gas, you're still
Is it the
increasing
daycare
speed.
center that's requesting this? or is it
No,
someone-
it's a resident,
A resident.
yes.
Excuse me, Chief, this
Yes, sir.
28 miles an hour, is that an average?
That's the 85th percentile. That means 85% of the cars traveling at that location are traveling 28.5 miles an hour.
Or more.
At that intersection?
No, at that
28.
location.
Yeah.
That's what they call the 85th percentile.
So some are going faster, it's just
Yes.
85% of all vehicles
Yeah.
are doing about that.
We've had some doing up to 40, 45. I had a 50 mile an hour. I mean, it just one. I mean, it does happen.
Yeah, I believe it.
Someone was late for work.
Yeah.
But I'll give you all the information on that once that is completed.
Anything else, Chief?
That's all I have. If there was any questions on code enforcement, I know that's really gonna start picking up here soon.
Okay.
And he'll be in tomorrow and Wednesday.
Any questions of the chief or myself? If not, that completes my report.
Hang on, Ron.
I noticed that there's private property signs posted all around the golf course now.
Mhm.
So I just didn't know if you were aware.
Yes, we are aware. They're posted by the maintenance company, Alps Development,
Okay,
and we are working with Alps Development to come up with some sort of agreement as far as policing the golf course.
oh, good.
Maybe not agreement, but more or less, so we need like a power of attorney. This weekend, we noticed that there were people out there golfing. Now,
Really?
I don't know if they were bank people, they could have been, because we never received a call on it. But that's some of the things that we have to talk to the maintenance company about. The bank, the maintenance company, a lot of people aren't talking to each other. There's still a lot of unknown there, but we are aware of it. The purpose for the signs is, number one is liability. They don't want anyone out there. It's a liability thing. And not only that, but they don't want stuff to start disappearing.
Right.
But we are keeping an eye on it, and we will iron that out with the maintenance company.
The fact that they're maintaining it like a golf course means you're gonna get phantom golfing out there.
There are things scheduled to be there, like this high school's track team, and
I
I've
believe
heard
there
there's
is,
a
yes.
golf outing for the chamber or somebody.
No,
They made a request, it didn't,
they won't be doing a golf out in there unless
Oh,
there's a golf
okay.
course company running it.
cool,
And that includes
that's
the
good.
school. I mean, the school's gotta decide where they're gonna have their track and cross-country and where they're gonna have golf. But
Golf's
I don't-
tomorrow.
I don't believe in going to a golf course that's not maintained by a corporation to have the kids on there. They're looking to make sure the kids are protected, and that
Okay.
would be going to Balmoral as
Good, you
George's name.
spelled a rumor, that's awesome, thank you.
But the residents around there need to understand that even if the golf course is posting that, it means it's private property.
We know,
So the residents that live at Highlandton Court need to understand that you can't go out there and just ride your bike down the blacktop,
we know
because
that.
it's private property.
Were signs there before those signs were there.
But you'd be amazed how many residents from Highlandton Court, while I was golfing, would either walk down that or take a bike down that, and we're hitting golf balls at them. And it's a liability for the golf course, and now it's more of a liability for the bank, so they need
Well,
to
I don't think
understand
it's
that.
only Highlandton
Yeah.
Court, there's other homes around.
That's where I
there.
saw the guy come out of,
Yeah,
at
well.
the time when I was playing.
That's when you saw,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's others.
But all residents need to understand that it is private property at that point.
We are aware.
Thank you.
Public Works Committee, trustee Clerk.
The water and sewer department monthly reports are enclosed for your review, and you'll notice that we're still combating the issue with the water system. The next one on the list is concerning leak detection. Public Works has been going after this. There's been a few areas where we feel we've found some of the contributions to some of our water loss. We're still pursuing to get the village back to an 80% pump to build ratio. Anything else you want to add on this, Bud?
Other than the
guys have
fact
done.
that it's very labor intense, we're coming at different hours of the night because of the testing that we have to do in the sections that we do have to shut down. I can say right now, I am working up at, off of Linden Circle at the townhomes up at Reichert's. There seems to be one area there that is just producing some water, and I have to go to every one of the services and put the listening device on it. Hopefully we'll find where that's at. Then we gotta get back over into Prairie Crossing, cause I still believe there's another, service line that is leaking. Now that's, one of the biggest ones we found, and it was blown off the system, which is why you had that big river and lake out on the golf course. I mean, the minute that we capped it and dug it, it stopped. So we're positively, we're keeping rolling on, but like I said, it's gonna be labor intense.
A lot of those are based on where there's no houses, it's a lot of.
Right, it's not the houses that, that are hooked up, you have these empty lots, and the sad thing about it is, like in Prairie Crossing, I don't know how it ever happened, but they use flare fittings instead of compression fittings on the B boxes. Well, Brian, flaring is an art of the past, and what I could see that happened there was that somehow it blew off the end of it, and it was just saturating everything. And the boxes on the empty lots, they've been run over by lawnmowers, concrete trucks, everything else, and we will physically have to, dig those up so we can get a listening device on them. So that's where we're at.
Keep it up. The next item is concerning the oxidation ditch. In the past meeting, the board authorized repairing 2 bearings at a cost of around $6,500. When the crew was on site, they determined that the original bearings were actually in pretty good shape. So we're going to take the bearings that were purchased, put them on the shelf, and keep them in reserve for any other bearing issues that we may have in the future. So anything you want to add on that, Bud? It's pretty much obvious what's going on.
No, that's a smart thing to do.
The next item we've all talked about in the last few meetings, it's concerning the ordinance increasing.
Trustee First asked that you table that.
Table that? Okay.
He wants to be here for,
Has he put it since he started it? He wants to
I'm fine with that.
Wow.
So he's gonna go through that in the following meeting?
Yeah.
Is there anything else he'd like to hold, or just that one?
No, so just that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. The next item has to do with, and we've done this every year, or every few years, concerning Lang excavation. We allow them to park in the old Public Works garage, which allows them to store their end loader in the village property area, but then in exchange, we use that to do services for the village, which then allows us to not incur a large cost for having a large end loader come in and do any work for the village and literally extract a lot of the dirt. So we're evaluating, right now we're putting in front of the board a 2-year agreement with Lanes for excavating for the winter use, leaving their excavator in our property for the winter use at the old Public Works garage, in exchange for dredging the dry basin at Miller and Donahoe, which is the dry basin on the east side of the Lane subdivision. So any questions concerning that? I make a motion for a 2-year agreement with the Langs excavation for the winter use of one bay of the old Public Works garage for the storage of their front end loader in exchange for dredging the dry basin at the pond at Miller and Downhill.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second? Go to second. Any questions on the motion?
Question. What do you mean by dredging?
That pond is filled, believe it or not, if you look at it, it looks fine. It has literally had so much sludge put into it over time, just degraded material that has flushed into that it has literally started consuming the storage capability of that facility. So the grass is literally sitting on stuff that's been ejected into that from other areas.
And if you look at the concrete that's in there, I believe the concrete is way below.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think that's.
It's about 18 inches
So they're gonna
below.
bring it back down.
So
to the
you've
concrete
lost-
and reseed it.
Okay.
You've lost storage or what's called dead band in that structure, and we're trying to regain that.
and it's hard to maintain it too when your concrete trough is 2 foot below grade.
Right.
Was that going behind your house?
Mm-mm.
No,
So
it
one
did.
in the end?
It's one on the end, yeah.
Across
Well,
from
see, 'cause
Dean.
that was all grass there, isn't it?
That's right, the grass is, what's happening is, as all that stuff gets in, the grass is just working its way through. The problem is, it's all that stuff that's coming in there is chewing up a lot of your dead band or dead board for that area, or freeboard. So as you get more and more water, it's, if you got 18 inches to your concrete troughs, you've lost 18 inches of freeboard in that facility. So we're gonna try to get that back, and it's gonna allow it to hold off like it's supposed to. Right now, you're getting less storage capability.
And we're gonna take the black dirt that he's scraping out, and we're gonna backfill those curbs in Prairie Crossing South.
And then are we gonna put more grass seed in the bottom of that retention pond?
Oh, yeah. Probably Excelsior blanket or straw blanket.
Well, it'll be a straw
It
blanket
has
that
to
we
be,
put
yeah.
down and probably like a winter wheat, the fastest growing stuff we can get in there to stabilize it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Cleary?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Coleman?
Abstain.
Whalen?
Yes.
The next item we have is concerning the herbicide and fertilizing village properties. As we did for the mowing of different properties in the village, we also went out for a cost to do this, to reevaluate the cost of all the items that are on our budget. So we went to 3 proposals. The lowest of the 3 was Heritage Landscaping in the amount of $2,915. At the time we were doing our budgeting, we put in $3,200, so it is below our budget. So I make a motion approving the proposal for the herbicide and fertilizing of the village properties to Heritage Landscaping in the amount of $2,915.
Second.
Motion on the floor, and there was a second. Any questions of the motion? Roll call.
Whalen?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Aaron? Yes. Cleary?
Yes, that is my report.
Thank you. Economic Development, trustee Murray.
CodeSpear and Nixle were used in the last month to notify residents in Prairie Crossings of planned water shutoff, as CodeSpear was used for that. Nixle was used to notify residents of the Hodges Street Railroad crossing closing.
Can I just say something? I live in Prairie Crossings. How did CodeSpear come through? Is it email or a text or what?
Telephone.
No
That's what I was
indication.
wondering. It
No
could be that-
indication at all.
It could be that you were out of the area. Was he inside the area that was to be called?
No,
Was your water turned off
no.
We've seen a decrease in flow.
at night?
What day did you do it?
We, like I said, you should have not been affected at all.
After we found that, we saw a decrease in the amount of pressure in our water system. And then it's gotten better, but it was pretty bad like Saturday, Sunday of last week.
Well, we were there for Eastcon board meeting that night. We actually did the polygon, and I can't say, Brian, for sure whether or not you were in that polygon. that got
Yeah, it's
called.
hard to
Yeah.
I mean, from where you guys had this, it was over on Pine?
Yeah, it was on Ash, really, yeah, and then we only had one,
It's- I
like
mean, we
a
may
half
not-
a block
I was
shut off.
curious if you got a call, because I thought I had it set up for the whole subdivision.
I can
Now
tell
I'm
you
not
no.
so sure.
No,
Yeah.
you didn't get the whole subdivision because we didn't get it.
Yeah. It was a test. We tried it.
As far as Nixle goes, if you're not getting Nixle messages, you need to sign up using the link on the village's website. And as a sidebar, it's not on here, the smartphone app has been updated for Android and for Apple users. There are still some bugs and actually.
Which I will not update my other electronic.
Yeah,
My
the,
phone's signal on.
Yeah, the developer is out of town right now, so there's a list of some things that have to be fixed. They're aware of some of the bigger issues. Some of the little stuff we're just gonna fine tune, but they switched to a completely new platform, so we're almost on their beta testing end, so it's gonna take a little bit.
Question, do you have to uninstall the old one? before
No.
installing the new one?
You can install, Android you can install right away. I've got 2 Android devices. One's my phone, the other's my tablet. I won't install it on my tablet because the old system's better. The old system has business phone numbers, the new one,
Yes, it does. Do
it
you have to
doesn't.
press the icon that looks like a phone?
You really shouldn't have to do that if you're looking at it. The other
Well,
problem
the
is
other,
some
it
of them.
doesn't list the phone, it just has a picture and you have to touch the phone
Yeah.
picture and it'll call
The other item is, it also provides web locations,
it.
and
It's fixed.
they might wanna look at Tony's Pizza, it sends you into a dead location.
Okay, none of them were working at first, they just fixed
It
it.
works, and Tony's
Yeah.
Pizza does not have a web location, and it sends you off to another location,
Okay,
which defeats the purpose of having people use it for businesses here.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of glitches, some of them, the descriptions weren't in there, so the descriptions have now been put in for the businesses that gave us a description. When I went in, when Apple finally updated it, because Apple took an extra week and a half, I couldn't see it. The App Store takes its time when they push them out.
That's when I told you, okay.
Yeah, and I said, I can't see it yet. Yeah, it took like a week and a half more for me to get it. But the website addresses weren't working on any of them. So I told her about that and she fixed that quick before she went out of town. The reverse alpha order for the business directory, that they're working on, that's a programming issue. We didn't love some of the fonts and some of the picky little stuff, we're gonna wait till she gets back with. But the major stuff, we tried to talk to her about, and it's in development, and it's gonna be a work in progress. You know, the initial app, when they first put it out, we didn't go public with it. We didn't announce it to anybody, so we could all look at it and kind of break it and play with it and see what we didn't like. Since it's already out there now, when they do an update, it just goes, so you can't really see what the problems are until it gets out there.
It would be good if they would give the phone number on it instead of you having to use it.
Instead of the picture.
Because it doesn't really give you the feeling that that's where the phone number's buried. I mean, normally they'll put it as a hotline. That's really the way to do it.
I knew that a picture of a phone was for a phone, but.
And when people don't do that, they look at the phone number. But that's it.
I don't like the pictures of the board.
I gave him those pictures. And here's what happened with the pictures. I had shrunk everything down because the last app, you could only have a little tiny file. So I shrunk all the pictures down for the old app. I don't have the originals that were larger. So I couldn't find the pictures and I had a deadline for when they had to go in. So he says, we'll just wait because we're gonna take new photos, you know, with the new board. This is just put the blue photos. And we'll get new pictures when we get new pictures taken.
And I would like to take some pictures at the May 11th board meeting if you all wanna.
Dollar sells out. Alrighty. And spring newsletters were mailed on Thursday, April 16th. Everybody should have gotten them by now. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Quiet zone, when we were in Springfield, we happened to run into our engineers. They said the report is nearing completion. Cautiously optimistic, but we don't have any firm figures yet. It's encouraging from what they were telling us. So when the report comes in, we'll certainly let you know. The Will County Governmental Lobby Day was interesting. Unfortunately, the only ones that I was able to sit down with was the governor and John Cowden. The governor, just make it simple, if you didn't watch the news tonight, he's not backing down from his cuts, he's not backing down from his resolution requests for municipalities. In fact, tonight I heard something new that I did not hear last week, that he's now indicating that the revenue that we get from the state is far more than what municipalities get in neighboring states, and I've never heard that before, so he's fighting back a little bit. I don't know where this is gonna go. We're going again this week, and once again, we will have a meeting with him this week, and hopefully I won't stare him face to face again this week, because it seems to be that I always sit at the table with him. One of the mayors in the room had indicated that not every municipality can pass a resolution as he wants, or as he dictates, which is basically what he's doing, and his response says, try. He didn't care, he basically just said, try it. Even though we said that, some of us said that it was in our best interest or your best interest, the governor's best interest, not to pass a resolution of that type. And he said, I respectfully disagree, try it anyways. So he's not backing down, and stay tuned.
I've given that comment some thought, that you said in the press conference that we get more money than anyone else. That's not true, because most states, and I thought about this, have a local income tax, where we get the money directly, like we do the sales tax. When we had a local income tax up to 1969, the state took it away, and they said, well, we'll collect your money for you, we'll just pass a state income tax and give you a piece. That was the stupidest thing they ever did. We shouldn't have done that, because now they want to take what was our local income tax away. Because we had at one time a local income tax. And that's what most states do. The municipalities pass an ordinance imposing a tax, and then the state collects it on your behalf like it does the sales tax.
Maybe you need to educate the governor.
Yeah, that's.
No, I am.
If someone's making a comparison that other states pay their municipalities less money, His information is skewed, you need to let him know what the other states are doing, I mean, that's the real
His
information.
statement may be correct, but the problem is, it's not like you're not putting in the rest of the piece of the puzzle.
Well, exactly.
You know, in other words, or like your cost of living isn't as high there, you know, that kind of stuff. He's not mentioning all that. Now, that was just a brief portion on the news tonight. Now, again, I'm sure that will come up this week when we go back down there. Last week, we were there for a half hour, and it was gonna get heated until they decided it's time for us to leave, and probably was a safe thing that we did leave. Because more and more mayors started to speak up and started to disagree with the governor, and the governor just kept firing back, and like I said, he's not gonna back down, at least not at this point in time. Basically, he's just simply saying, if you help me approve my agenda, I won't have to make the cuts to your, you know, and then, to your funding. Even today, one of the mayors that was in this press conference today, made mention that fact, and we brought this up in our meeting too, that all he's doing is passing the buck. He isn't gonna pass any property taxes, but we're gonna be forced to, because you're gonna cut our funding, and we still have to maintain our services, so we have to come up with new fees to make up the fees that he's cutting. So all he's doing is passing his problem down the road, and yet we didn't create his problem. We've been working within our means for the longest time now. They haven't, that's not our fault. But anyways, that's the way the discussion went, and like I say, stay tuned, and we'll see what happens this week.
2 points. The personal property replacement tax is the same thing. Indiana has that, the locals get that. We agreed to give it up, the state was gonna collect it and give us a piece of their pie. Well, that little piece has been dwindling of the personal property replacement tax to where we only get $7,000 a year now in personal property replacement tax. To give the residents an example of what's going on, for every dollar you pay the state in income tax, the state gives us back 6 cents. So every dollar a village resident pays in state income tax, he gets 6 cents. Okay, we get 6 cents back. What they want to do now is only give us 3 cents. So they're gonna take our 6 cents and only give us 3 cents. And I said that to the governor's aide at the reception, and he never looked at it that way before. He says, really? I said, yeah, that's all we get is 6 cents on the dollar. Now you wanna take 3 of that away. That's about as simple as I can state.
And then, there was a lot of reps that we were supposed to meet, but they were in a budget hearing at the time, and they didn't get out till late that day. So some of the representatives that we were supposed to meet with didn't happen. So hopefully we can pick up where we left off last week, this week, and then go from there. Like I said, we are supposed to have another meeting with the governor from there. And we need to make a motion to go into closed session to review prior closed session minutes for approval and whether or not to be released the minutes publicly.
So,
Motion made, second.
Is that Wednesday, Aaron?
There was a second.
mhm.
Any questions or motion? Roll call.
Cleary?
Yes.
Aaron? Yes. Meyer?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Whalen?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
I have a couple of things.
Yeah.